5 minutes, 4 minutes away from the report here. And the grains right now, corn's up 1 to 2, beans up 6 to 12, and wheat's getting beat up a little bit. This report's going to be, I think, mostly about corn and beans. It's also going to be, for those of us, if we have any cotton listeners out there, we all know about the problems with the cotton conditions and everything. So we're probably going to be looking at some production cuts in cotton. So it may be a bit dynamic there. The outside markets are supportive. The stock market is up. The Dow's up 215, and S&Ps are up almost 40. So there is, if we're going to get a bullish number, we're in a reasonably good environment. Crude's off a little bit, but it's off of some pretty strong highs, and that's trading on its own merits anyway. The dollar is up about 63 right now.
Wow. Sterling, what should we be looking for today? I mean, is there anything?
The big things that we're going to be looking for here, and I'm going to highlight them real quick on my screen. We're going to be watching the soybean ending stocks number. It came in at 230 last time. The survey is for 224. If they touch soybean yields, right now, last time it came in at 51.5, and the survey is looking for them to take maybe half a bushel off. And then when we move on to corn, it came in at 177. Survey is looking for 176.1. I had some private estimates came in at 175.5 this week, which is actually a couple of ticks better than where they were last week. And the other number that we'd be looking at here, cotton production. This report's going to be a little bit different too. This world corn ending stocks number, it was 313 last time. The street is looking for 309. Do they address something in the Ukraine? That's one question. The second question that we have to think about is Western Europe. There was a picture this morning of the Rhine River completely dry. We are going to lose 2, 4, 5 million tons of corn production off that. Will the USDA address that right now? Everyone seems to think they will. The world soybean ending stocks number is not going to be as big of a number this time around.
Oh, wow. So weather is playing a part in today's report.
Oh, absolutely. How much the USDA decides to address this. The corn market has been bouncing here the last little bit. It is trading right now just right above its 200-day moving average. If it moves well above that, we could certainly see some fun buying come in here with the report. I would expect that we're going to be quite volatile when the report comes out here in about 50 seconds. Is Brooks on today, or?
He is not. I know he had another call he was trying to get off of so he could get on, but it doesn't look like he was able to get off that call.
All righty, well, that's not a problem again. So this is going to be a fairly big report. Usually we don't see changes in the soybean yields on this report, but corn, typically they raise it, but given the weather this year, we may be in for a few more surprises than what we normally see. And
goodness. Oh, it's like
we're about 10 seconds away here. We'll keep this corn yield number highlighted here. And then let's see. And corn yield comes in at 175.4. That is a little bit smaller than expected. Prices right now, immediate reaction was actually a little bit bearish. Soybeans are down about 17. Corn is down. Well, corn's up a penny, penny and a half, penny and a quarter now. Let's see what they did with these soybean numbers for the U.S. soybean ending stocks. They raised world ending stocks to 101. That's a bit of a surprise.
Oh, wow.
Looking at U.S. soybean production, that came in a little bit higher. They raised soybean yields. That's a big, big surprise 51.9 on the beans. That was that was something the market was not looking for. They actually raised ending stocks to 245. And let's see what we did with corn ending stocks to the U.S. We took them to 1388, which was a little bit smaller. So on the surface, the immediate reaction is the report is a little bit bearish for soybeans. It is supportive for corn. Soybeans are now trading here at 1506. They're down about 17. Corn is managed to maintain a little bit of a positive tone here. The wheat market is seeing it's fairly even ticking. All the action is inside the corn market right now. Let's go ahead and move on and take a look here real quick at the cotton numbers and see how those look coming out here. And let's see what we have here for U.S. cotton numbers. U.S. cotton production, they cut the ending stocks down to 1.80, which is a very, very tight number. I don't have real-time cotton quotes, but I would suspect, I would have to think that that would have to be seen as supportive towards the cotton market. So, in summary, the big surprise for today would be that they actually raised soybean yields despite all of the hot weather and everything else. Let's keep in mind, though, it's August. Soybean yields are just happening right now. This is going to set the stage again for September and October when we get a little clearer picture on exactly what we see for the soybeans and exactly what those are. And that certainly, given the weather we've had, we could definitely see possibly seeing those yields getting cut down the road here. Soybean exports, they actually did raise a little bit. Old crop ending stocks, they expanded just a touch, so it's likely they cut the immediate exports. Corn exports, they did cut a little bit as well. So, how are we trading here? Let's switch over here, see what we can do about switching screens that we're sharing here. We're gonna try a little attempt at some technology here. See if we can actually do that. Let's see here if I can get this. Everything's working a little bit wonky today. What do you do? And it's a little bit wonky. Well, and it's not letting me do much of anything. Christy, you could probably take the ball back here real quick.
Okay. All right. Wow. That is that is amazing to me. Of course, I know if you've been following like I said, we've been doing this crop tour, and I think for so many of us, if you've been following that, especially that cotton number, probably as low as it is, it probably doesn't surprise some of you if you've seen some of those pictures, especially in Texas. That crop is probably not surprising at all because they're just not getting any rain down there.
No, the conditions we're seeing in cotton, the worst we had ever seen was back in 2011 for at least recent data going back 20 years. And we are just a tick or two above conditions on that. It's really a problem. And from what I gather from my meteorologist, there isn't anything here that's really going to change that anytime soon. And again, it's August 12th. We're getting awfully late in the game here to be seeing anything really. Improvement's going to be really hard.
Wow. Well, I mean, are there any other reports that are coming out today or in the next week?
As far as we should be getting some FSA numbers about acreage. The market very often will move on those. Those are a surprise. We don't always know when they're coming out. Very often the USDA also has a habit of releasing them at 5 in the morning, which is also a bit of an encumbrance to finding them and following them. But that is the next big thing that we really have going on. We had a lot of macro reports this week that were actually very good. We had a very good CPI report, a very good PPI report. We also had a very good import index report. this morning that, is tempering the inflation ideas, and that's providing, some fuel, certainly for the equity markets. It's calming the bond market, and that frees up capital for other risk items. So, if we start to get a more bullish story develop, there certainly is some firepower available to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, are there any questions? I mean, this has definitely been a big report with some big numbers here that maybe it's definitely surprised what we were expecting. Are there any questions out there, especially now that you've got, an expert here on the phone with you? Here's Sterling. Still think I can. Any other questions out there?
Just going back to the markets here real quick. Corn's now down about 5 1/4, and the soybeans are doing all of this. Soybeans for November are down 24.5. And again, the big surprise here was a bump in soybean yields. The market, I don't think anybody was expecting that at all, and I think that is the biggest surprise right here. The corn number, the ending stocks at 388. I was getting them to be at 1380, and they came in at 1388. So that was pretty much right in line with expectations. They did shave exports a little bit along with that, which was a smaller surprise.
Wow. So of course, we have a marketing meeting next Thursday. So next Thursday at 9 o'clock, just for those of you who are still on and listening to us here today, we have a marketing meeting next Thursday at 9 o'clock. And I know we'll probably discuss, things that have happened here. In the next week, are there any reports that are coming out that might discredit what came out today with the WASDE, or anything that might come back and make us think, hey, these numbers?
The government reports next week for the ag reports is actually, I think, pretty quiet. We had a CONAB report that came out earlier this week and actually cut Brazilian production a little bit. Looking at that world corn number, the world corn ending stocks came in at 307, which was noticeably smaller than expected as well. So this was a good report for corn. If the soybeans weren't wrecking the party right now, we'd probably see corn noticeably higher. And remember, there's immediate reactions to these reports, and it's important to make sure, if you're not getting the DMOs, to read this afternoon's DMO, because this report's been out about 10 minutes, and I've seen these things turn and change pretty noticeably as it takes time, or as people actually go through the report in bigger detail. Also, if you're not getting our podcasts, let's make sure you get everyone signed up for the podcasts. We do 3 a day. I do one in the morning at 10 o'clock, where the markets are kind of going. There's a livestock one on there. We have a lot of really interesting things going on in the livestock market right now. We saw some of the best cash cattle trade we have seen really in several months. We saw hog prices this week. We saw the October hog futures set a new life contract high. We had record cash pork prices earlier this week. They've come off a little bit, but we did see that happen as well. And there's going to be a lot of good dynamics there. And then there's an afternoon podcast where all the markets get covered and all the important details get talked about. And it's meant to be a companion for the other reports. Also, if you're an agent, a marketing person, or even if you're just a regular reader, the Wednesday edition of the DMO, I make sure I include the 5 key talking points about corn, wheat, soybeans, and the cotton market. So you have an idea where ending stocks are. So you have an idea of things, upcoming reports, and things that will be driving the market near term in a very simple, very easy to use form. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good stuff. You don't want to miss any of this stuff. And I mean, you've got an expert like Sterling who's getting you the information you need, when you need it. So you just don't want to miss it. I'm not seeing any questions, and I know sometimes you don't think about this until you've had a few minutes to kind of digest it and realize what's really just happened. So, and maybe you're you're getting ready to talk to some of your farmers about it, or you know, some of your customers, and then they're going to have some questions. You know, like I said, feel free to reach back out to us later this afternoon, or you know, next week, and say, hey, now we want to know, how do we do this? You know, feel free to email us, and we'll be sure to get back with you, or you can always reach us on our social media channels as well, and we'll be sure to get back with you. Are there any parting thoughts here, Sterling? No sense in keeping everybody on. If
the knee-jerk reaction is continuing and beans are still coming under pressure. I should have an updated cotton quote here. Let's see how that's looking. Cotton right now, well, 106.20, that's up 161. And March cotton higher, 103.13, up 149. So all those numbers were a little bit tighter than what the street was looking for. The market seems to have them reasonably well priced in. The weakness in the soybeans, sometimes that can cast a shadow on the cotton as well. And I think that's probably the biggest the biggest mover of the market right now. I think the most important thing here, once we get past the first 10 or 15 minutes of the report and the market sorts us out a little bit better, we'll have a clearer picture on how we're looking when we close. But again, soybeans right now in the driver's seat, causing some pressure with that surprise raise in production and ending stocks.
wow. Well, that's exciting. I mean, wow, what an exciting report. And
this is, again, these markets, they trade together, because that corn report on its own should have been at the very least supportive, and maybe a smidge bullish to where prices were when it came out. But the soybean report caught everybody off guard, and you're seeing some people, the market's getting jumped on right now. And we'll see just how they feel about it after they have some lunch. The idea is, all of a sudden, cheaper prices can often attract buyers. So we'll see how that actually plays out.
Yep. Well, we've about hit our time, and we've had a great group of participators. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. We have recorded today's session. And again, we do apologize for that technical glitch at the beginning. But if you do have any questions, please send those to us at marketinginfo@sompointernational.com. We'll be happy to answer those for you as they come in. And Sterling, thanks again so much for being a part of today, providing great information, great insight.
And make sure to read today's DMO, as I'll break down, as I get a chance to digest everything that's actually within this report, and see just how we're looking coming into next week into soybeans. And we will have a crop condition report that comes out on Monday. We'll also have the export sales numbers that come out on Thursday, and we're starting to get in season for soybeans. So it'll be interesting. We might see some flash sales and something develop out of the spring.
We're just report season here right now. Just lots of it.
Oh, I actually, with the macro stuff, I look at about 65 reports a week.
Wow. And then, I just thought about this. So coming up in September, we have there's a quarterly report at the end of September too, right? Now, but it's not near as big a report, if I recall. It's not as big as like the June and the March.
No, the June and March, that's the quarterly stocks number. That's kind of like, I treat it like a fuel gauge. It's how much, we actually have in the tank. This one's going to be at we're just moving into harvest and everything, so everybody knows there's going to be crop coming.
Right.
There won't be any surprises about that. So that report isn't necessarily as big of a deal. But again, with data being a little bit still hard to get and sometimes a little bit fuzzy, that can be something to look forward to. Christy, I have to do a radio report, so
you go take care.